Alright, so let's see. If this is your first webinar that you've been to with me, my name's Brian McAfee. No, I don't use no fake names, hide behind any crap or anything like that. Today we're going to be going over by request. It was just basically trend trading. The original request came from finding tops and bottoms, and I was, whatever. I jumped in and said that personally I think that trend trading is one of the better ways to get started. Reason being for trend trading is a better way to get started is as a retail trader, and that's what every one of us is as a retail trader. It makes more sense to follow the big guys. The big guys will set tops and bottoms, and we don't know where they are. So to be honest, trading tops and bottoms, and when I say tops and bottoms, that means like here's a bottom, price bottomed out. Where's the top going to be? Who knows? But this could have been a bottom. This could have been a bottom. All of this could have been a bottom, but they decided they wanted to keep moving price lower. So what we're going to look at is basically some easy ways to trend trade. If you're new to it, I'm gonna show you on the 1 minute chart, and then we're gonna pop up a little bit higher and higher. But one of the biggest things you can do when learning to trade is use a lower time frame. Reason being is just going to be for repetition. If you think of trading like, let's say, learning to drive a car, if you're on a 1 hour or 4 hour time frame, that's like you're getting to drive once a day for 10 or 15 minutes. If you're on the 1 minute time frame or a 5 minute, and we're not looking for a lot of consistency except for in how you enter your trades and seeing how it scales up. So basically what I'm saying is on a 1 minute time frame, you're going to get to drive a lot more during the day. When if you're on a 4 hour time frame or a daily time frame, you might get in a trade and watch it, but how many entries per day are you going to get is what I'm leaning towards. I typically tell my students you want about 300 is a bare minimum amount of trades you want to do before you decide what time frame you want to be on. And during that time, it's also going to let you adjust how you trade. You might find out that some of these indicators are useless, or you're just completely ignoring them and you're not using them. I'm going to go over some basic setups. I threw a couple extra indicators on here, and then I'll go down to what I actually use for when I'm trading. I guess let me explain. For 5 minute and below, I'm going to use a setup if I'm doing the 5 minute charts or the 1 minute charts. Since I'm on MT4, then I will use the setup we're looking at here, or minus a couple things. Now once I go to 15 minute and above, I use Ichimoku, and for binary options it is a freaking mess. Well, not a mess. I use a lot more indicators. I rely highly on technical indicators for binary options trading. So let's get going here. What do we have on the chart? Let's flip through a couple real quick and look at anything. I want to see something good. We still have one that's a mess, so we can have that as a good sample. And here's one that I took right before the webinar started. I took a trade. Before we get going, let's look at the indicator list. Trend following is this one up here. I made some minor adjustments to it and killed some. It's off of, if you follow any other websites, you might know where that's from. Zigzag is a stock indicator. Trend following is one I threw on there because it's not really needed. We're going to go over that and why. Zigzag. M candles is, here, if we can see it. Here, let me zoom in and then we'll look at it. Okay, so now let's get back to the indicators list. M candles is your 5 minute candles on a 1 minute chart. And if I'm on a 5 minute chart, I'll put 15 minute candles. If I'm on a 15 minute chart, I'll put probably 1 hour candles. But that's these little squares in the back. So you can see each one of these has 5 1 minute candles in it. Mini charts, that's up here. Mini charts is part of my rules for trading. It's also why I was going to show you that this trade wasn't the brightest trade in the world. This was my entry candle. We'll get back to that in a minute. Orders indicator comes from the marketplace. It's what shows you the number here and here. This is my take profit. This was my stop off. It marks everything on it so I can keep track of my trades. MA close. That is just basically a simple indicator that tells me when price closes above or below the moving average I'm using. Alligator. Why do I have that on there? Let me see something. Delete. Oh. Here. Insert indicators, moving average, 13.8. So we're going to be using one moving average, 13, shift 8, smoothed, median price, high-low 2. You can make it whatever color you want. I'll put it back to yellow, and we'll make it a bit thicker. Okay, now let's go back to indicator list. So we have moving average and slope direction line. I'll share all these at the end. The other one that I'm using is called MA cross MTF. You can see what it is. 2 periods, both set to linear weighted, and it's the one at the bottom. It basically tells me when 2 cross without having them on the chart. It kind of gives me a little bit of a perspective on higher, not higher time frame, but on bigger movements of the market. Since I'm on the 1 minute, not too big though. Okay, so basically what we're looking at is, trying to think where to go now next. Let me stretch this out a little bit. When you're trend trading, and this is one of the reasons I say it's easier to trend trade than it is to do tops and bottoms. Price moves up, price moves down, price moves up. Indicators box is not able to view. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, because I'm only streaming. Don't worry about it. I'll link them all. Sorry. I forgot I set it to just stream the window here. I'll put a link with the Dropbox on all of them that I actually use. The ones that I use are actually, other than, I use 1, 2, 3, I use 4 indicators, 5, and I'll link them all. Okay, so trend trading, and let me zoom out a little bit. If we're trend trading, what we're looking for is our moving averages, and we'll pretend these are both moving averages. Even one's slope direction, one's a moving average. They're both moving averages, one's fancier than the other. What we're looking for is price to be below our lines, and this one's a little bit simpler the way I use it, because with the slope direction, I'm just looking for the color to change. If it's above it here and the color changed to purple, I can still get in a trade. And if it's with the yellow, which is our 13 period moving average, I wait for price to break through it and close above it or close below it. So it's pretty simple rules, and I'll show you a couple trades. This is going to be cheating because there was news, so we got some drastic moves to make it look. But, and then I'm going to knock into some of the other indicators that are on here and how I filter. Let's turn off the auto scroll. So let's go back here. So basically what we're looking for a trade is, this would be one, and I know this is after the fact, and I hate to do it after the fact. And we'll try and catch some live, but first I want to explain the concept, then we'll get some live trades. And I entered in a shitty one, because, not a shitty one, but a risky one, and I'm going to show you the risky one here in a second. But what we're looking at is our slope direction went pink. You can adjust colors on it however you want once you get your hands on it. And price closed below our moving average, which is the yellow line. So that meant entry. Now, this was a big candle down, but that's our basic entry rule. I will go into take profit and stop loss, how I use zigzag and why it's on there. Zigzag's on there for probably a reason you wouldn't even think of. Okay, so price moves down, blah, blah, blah. Now price reverses, comes up. So let's look at it. Price broke higher right here. Next candle is a little bit higher. We get our slope direction moving up. So let's mark that one also with a... It would not have registered here because it would have probably still been pink. So this would have been it. So this has been another trade here. Let's get rid of this one, and we're going to zoom in on that one and take a look at it. This one's a bit more of a setup. This is a news candle, so I wouldn't have been trading this in the first place. But let's take a look at how, using this then, we could set take profit and stop loss. Part of being consistent, guys, is going to be figuring out how to do take profit and stop loss. Zigzag is actually a very simple way to do take profit and stop loss. This is what I use it for on the lower time frames. With the higher time frames, with 15 and above, I use Itchy, and it's totally different. But again, right now I'm going to be showing you a 1 or 5 minute system and how to set your take profit and stop loss and not overshoot. So here's my candle. Let me zoom in. And this is... A lot of people say, but this is so simple. Well, yeah, it is, but don't get stressed out about it. Trading doesn't have to be difficult. I guess before I get into explaining why I did it, why I trade this way, a lot of people like to use a shit ton of indicators on their charts. How many people here watch like American football or understand American football? And I'll get into some of the things here as I mark things up. Okay, so this is our entry, and I'll go back to the American football analogy here in a second. What we want to do is this is the close, our entry. If we go back down to the bottom of it, it's... Jesus, has price really been moving that much? 43.4. So let's look up. 40. Let's go 44. Okay, so I'm going to draw two things. Stop loss. And we can see how simple this is. Now, pick the line. Yeah, there we go. Horizontal line properties. I'm going to draw it red. This would have been our stop loss. Entry is going to be a white line. And I'm going to take some of these live for you. Well, actually, we have one running right there that finished up. Even though, again, this was not the smartest trade, I'll show you why it was okay. So, white. And green is going to be our exit. So, let's measure down again. How far was it? It was 43. We have a 2-pip spread. 2-pip spread, Jesus. So, let's go 45. So, we don't want to bullshit ourselves. And I'm going to explain spread here in a second. That's good enough right there. That'll be 47. So, let's draw the line in. Green will be our take profit on this entry. And, well, lime, whatever. Okay, so I lied. Okay, so this is the complete trade setup. Down here is an extra confirm if you need it. This one up here is a bullshit indicator, but it seems to be real popular on Binary Options Edge right now. But I just wanted to show, right now I can't show it, how you're going to get this thing giving you opposite signals of what's on the chart. I'm going to get into indicators here in a second and the reason why, because this is a lagging one, and if you went by this, it can kind of cause issues. I also have one set up where I have this one on here. And as we can see, this one's giving me a down, up, 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 but this one's giving me down, 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 up, up. We have two conflicting indicators there, but if we look on the chart, we get a different picture. Back to this trade, though. Sorry, I jump around a lot. Again, guys, we have some people coming in. If you have questions, feel free to just not answer them. Feel free to ask them while we're running. Don't worry about it. So pretty simply put, here's our close. This is what's called a it's slope direction. It would have been, we would have gotten an alert here saying that price closed above this MA, which it's an indicator I'll put in the pack. But the next one was one where we really would have got our entry to figure out. So you go ahead and enter it. Typically what I do is I have a 5-pip take profit and stop loss preset. That way my take profit and stop loss is there. Then all I have to do is drag down to my appropriate levels and up to my appropriate levels. So this one was a pretty easy trade. Now, why am I using zigzag? Zigzag shows us, it kind of is like a, it kind of shows us the current market swings and conditions. If you use zigzag, and let's go back and look here. If we use zigzag to put a sell in here, it goes down and it never comes above it. So if we're trend trading using zigzag, our chances of getting stopped out, unless the market makers make the market move, I guess that makes sense. Unless they make it move, our chances of getting stopped out decrease. And it lets, basically zigzag tells us how much breathing room we need on the trade. So why am I using zigzag and not using a set take profit and stop loss? This is going to go back to my analogy. It could be basketball, football, if you're European, rugby, whatever. All the sports have plays. So if you're using a set 10 pips and you're going into a game and you say you're going to get 10 yards or 10 feet every single play, that's going to fail, especially if you're using the same play over and over and over again. What you have to be able to do is adjust your take profit and stop loss to the current market conditions. So let's say you get just American football, for example. If you go in and every play you're saying I'm getting 7 yards, the other team adapts to that. Now, the market isn't going to adapt to your strategy, but the market does change. It's not a static thing. It changes as the day goes. From minute to minute it changes. Like from news, spike here, back to a normal moving market. The zigzag will help you, especially if you're new, on determining your stop loss. So in my case, the trade was qualified here, and this is just simply using moving averages. This is nothing fancy. Trade was qualified here, and we got in it. It goes up. Okay, so the actual trade I took. Does everyone understand the concept of why we use zigzag and not use a set take profit and stop loss? If you have questions on it, just shoot and ask. But honestly, using a set take profit and stop loss is going to set you up for failure because you're trying to use a static way of trading versus something that's not static, which is the market. Okay, so I got in on this one, and this was one that I wanted to show because it actually wasn't a really good trade. I'm going to draw a horizontal line over, well, let's see, I can't zoom in on this. This one was a risky trade. This was my entry candle. And you can see it went all the way up to here and then dropped back down. One of the filters I do use is the little mini charts. This one was a risky because here's the moving average on the mini charts. The template will be set up, everything for you. Don't worry about it. You will have to adjust it for higher time frames, but we can get into that. It did hit the MA. It hit the moving average. So getting in here was a little bit risky because once this hit the moving average, it dropped back down a little bit, but then it continued moving up. So that's one of the things you need to be aware of. The biggest thing I'm going to say, whether you have one indicator on your screen or 30 indicators on your screen, is when you're going to take a trade, the first thing you need to do is look left. And why do I say you want to look left before every trade? No matter what your indicators are telling you, whether this one says up, which it did, it said we were moving up, we got up, everything said to get into the trade. The next thing you want to do is look left. Why do we want to look left? What's our support and resist? What's going on the chart? So many people when they're trading focus only on the indicators they have on the chart, and they never look left to see what the hell's going on in the trade. If you're going to cross the street, you're going to look left and right before you cross the street. Before you take a trade, this is kind of you're looking left and right. You need to look left, look back on the chart, and review it. I see so many people get into stupid-ass trades, and you look left, and there's a giant support or resist sitting, like, right here. But they jump in the trade anyway, and they're like, well, what the hell? All my indicators said get in. So hopefully, just that's your biggest thing. Once you have a trade set up, and I'll preach it again and again, is look left. Okay, so does everyone understand the concept of what we're looking for to get into a trade? We're going to look for a couple live and get into them if we can. I'm going to show how the filtering works using the M5 and what we're looking for to stay out of. I will say what is good right now. These are the setups you're looking for. That's the type of setups you're looking for when you're trend trading. If you're trend trading, you want to stay away from... let me turn off the auto scroll so it doesn't knock us back. This shit here, this is all yuck if you're trend trading. Might be good if you're a range trader and you're doing reversals for binary options. This is all shit. One of the biggest things you're going to need to do is just to learn and sit and wait. If you can wait until we get these types of setups, it's easy money. It literally is easy money. Yes, you might struggle a little bit on learning when to get in and out. Once you get up to this point on these, there might be a little bit of exhaustion. But if you can learn to spot them down here quickly, get in, and don't be greedy. That's my biggest thing. I see somebody who'll try and get 5 trades out of this. Don't be greedy. Get one trade. I mean, this was 0.1 lots, and it was $26. And it took it took 5, 10, took 15 minutes. So if you're in America working McDonald's, that's 3 times 7. That's almost 4 hours of work right there in 15 minutes. For being patient and waiting till the charts are giving you what you want to see. So hopefully we all understand that. Let's move on to the next one. Again, this one because of news, I'm trying not to cheat. So this would be a no-go area because news was here. This is what we're looking for again, right here. We're looking for this. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to try and find a messy one because I want you to see when it's a total complete cluster. Okay, so here's a complete clusterfuck. There's 2 things that tell us this. Sometimes on the 1-minute chart this might look okay, and sometimes on the 5-minute chart it might help us pinpoint. This is why I use the mini charts when I'm trading the 1. Okay, so first let's highlight our cluster. Total cluster here. Now, when I see, I'll show you why in a second. It's starting to cling up here and here. What do I see that I don't like? let's try a marker. I've never tried a marker. As price is continuously breaching, marker doesn't work, so let's go here. Price is breaching, price is breaching, price is breaching. Let's go back and look at the other chart, and what's the difference between this and this? Price is above, we're not getting breaching, means we have a nice clear trend run. And this is so far, what am I using is this indicator, and this indicator. Zigzag is nothing for me for entry, it's to take our top stop loss and take profit. So if we looked at this, we would say, no, I don't want to trade this. There might have been a brief moment where you think you could get in right here, but let's be realistic. If you had all this shit here and then you saw, well, it came out for a little bit, you'd want to wait. So you might lose out on this trade. Whoop-de-freaking-do. It's better to be patient and wait for a clear, nice chart than it is to guess and try and get in on this shit. So let's look at another one. This was the EA I had turned on. This wasn't me taking a trade. Okay, so this, again, I'm not going to go back and judge a news area and say, ooh, that was a good trade. This was a news area, so we would not have been trading it. But let's look what happened down here. Price came down again. Okay, so from looking at this little section here, I've explained it, so I hope we get a little feedback here. Let me mark it. What do we think about this? Say on a scale of 1 to 10, or a yes, no, do you consider that as something that we might be able to get into? Crap. So, oh, you can't see the squares on my screen either. Shit. Let me do something real quick. Let's see. Add. Let's do screen capture. Give me a sec, I'm going to adjust. And actually, let me try something real quick. I'm going to just flip it so you can see everything. Okay, so add screen capture. Let me know if this works then. Okay, now let me make it bigger. Sorry, I'm doing this on the fly, so. It should get bigger here in a second, hopefully. And let me know if you can see mouse now. Sorry, I forgot. I was set up for something different. So, the recording, they'll be able to see everything I did, but on your end, you weren't. Okay, let's see if I can draw on the screen and y'all can see it. I'm just making sure everything's good. We'll go back and review real quick. We'll look at a couple good ones and bad ones. Okay, cool. So everything's working now. Sorry about that. I was on a setup for gaming where I don't want my mouse all over the place. Okay, so let's go back where we were. I still have it semi-marked. Quick review. What we don't want is when we're trend trading, and whatever time frame you're on, is right here. This is shit. If you see this, you stay out. You do not want in it at all. Now what we're looking for, and we have two good windows here, is this and this. This is what we're looking for. We want, this one's not as great as this one, but if I had to say, Cool. So everything's working now. Great. Okay, so what we're looking for is price ideally to look like this, above these two lines. Now this one's semi-okay, it's breaching it, it's hitting down, but we have the nice zigzag pattern. You can use zigzag a little bit because lower, 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 higher, higher, higher. Okay, so let's close that. Do you want me to re-explain take profit and stop loss and how I use zigzag to do it, since I did not know y'all couldn't see my shit? Or when I was drawing with MT4 tools, could you see it? I think it's when I'm using the webcam tools, you couldn't, not the webcam, the whatever the streaming tools, you can't see it. Did everyone understand how to use zigzag for take profit stop loss? Or would you like me to review it one more time? And then we're going to look at a couple more charts. We're going to pick out good and bad and how to filter things. And I know this isn't a lot indicator based, but literally this works great if you're patient and you just wait for the trades. Arrow. Okay. Here's the arrow. Let me get rid of that. I'm going to zoom in again. Give me the arrow, you little... Nah, screw you. Okay. Let me move this off the screen because it's annoying me. Okay, so what I'm saying is this was a news candle, so I'm not going to lie and say we could have got into that as a trade. What I'm saying is price stayed below this one. Ideally, we'd like price below this one. These are both moving averages. So this is news trade, so we're not going to, like I said, I'm not going to bullshit ourselves and say we got in on that. I don't trade during news. Here's where we start to turn around. Price starts to turn around. Now this is, again, this one is the slope direction line. It goes downtrend, it's pinky, uptrend, greeny. So let's put on, let's get rid of this line. So what we're waiting for is price to close above our moving average. This is a 13 moving average, and I'll show you this. Let's see if you can see settings now. I'll leave it up there for a second. And this is just a simple moving average. It's not letting me select the damn arrow. I don't know. It's being pissy. Okay, you can see my... So the moving average isn't anything special. It's just that. And I'll put everything in the template. But it's a 13 period, shift 8, smooth, median price, HL2, and the rest you can do whatever you want with. Levels and visualization, all stock. What we want is price to close above it. When price closes above it, our next step is what's the direction line doing? Did it turn green? It was green there, but most likely the indicator would not have been green. It probably would have been pink or something. It was green here. So this was our entry candle. Right here was our entry candle. This little sucker here. Now what we want to do is we want to determine take profit and stop loss. Now I'm not going to get into partial closes. I'm just going to get into getting the basics down. So this was our entry candle. To find out what our stop loss is from the close of that candle, we just go down to the bottom of the zigzag. That gives us 43.3 pips. Remember, these are news candles. We're still based off news, so this is a big move. This is way above what you would average get, because making $26 on a 1 minute chart's rare when using 0.1 lots. Okay, so our stop loss is here. Stop loss will be identified by a red line. This is our entry candle. We'll try white, and we'll make it... That's already as big as it can be. I won't draw it on the background. We'll draw it on the foreground. I'll leave a square around it so you can see it a little better. Our entry. Let's draw that with a green line. Our entry was here. We got a doji on the next one, so we would have actually gotten pretty good entry. Entry. We'll make it white. Take profit. So take profit's 40. We were running, when this happened, it was a 2 pip spread. So we're looking for 43.45. So up here, around there, that's 47, so close enough. But just so you can see, even with a shitty spread, it still would have hit. And we'll make that green. Green, yeah, why am I dicking around with everything else? Okay, so that's the complete trade setup there. This was your entry candle. Your stop loss was determined by zigzag. I explained why were you using zigzag, because zigzag. Let's say we're using a set take profit on here. If you were using a set take profit of 10 pips, you got into this trade. So we're doing 10 pips up, 10 pips down, or 10 pips up, 20 pips down. So 2-to-1 risk reward ratio. It's the 1 minute chart. Fuck it. 10 pips isn't a lot. You can get in that easy. What would have happened with 10 pips? That's 16. That's 15.9 pips plus a 2 pip spread. That's a 17 pip drop right there. You would have got stopped out using a static take profit and stop loss. And on a 1 minute chart, a 17 pip drop, you'd been like, what the hell? How did I get stopped out? The zigzag allowed me, without even caring what's going on really with the market, to say, here's my stop loss, translate it to a take profit. I'm going to do this again probably Friday or Monday, and I'll show why this 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio actually pays off. But what we do is we monitor the trades and we can close on opposite, which bumps our risk-reward up. What we also do is do a partial close. Right here for me, 80% of my trade would have closed, 20% would have been riding. That we'll get into later too. This is why it works for me. But before you can get any of that, you need to get the basics of the system down. Okay, so everyone gets that, why we're using zigzag. Zigzag allowed us to compensate for this news move, still get into a trade, not get stopped out on a 1 minute chart, even with a 17 pip drop. We were prepared for it because we're using zigzag. The market isn't static, so we need something to give us information on how to get in, use take profit and stop loss responsibly without getting stopped out, but without overshooting our goals. What I see a lot of people do is their take profit is too large, and their trade gets up 30 pips in profit, then drops down because they overshot their take profit. They were too aggressive. So zigzag we're going to go through a few more, and we'll take a look at it. This is the trade I took. The only reason I want to show it is if the zigzag's doing like this wasn't formed yet, I went with here's my stop and my take profit up here. Okay, let me zoom out and let's go back to some nice trades. Okay, one of the rules I have, why am I not jumping in on here? If we look back, and it's right here, the 5 minutes bouncing on this MA. I don't get in on, when my 5 minute is bouncing on the MA or hugging it, I do not trade. So let's zoom in real quick and take a look at it, because this is a good one, since we're running live. I'm going to draw a line. This could have been entry. Here's our downward. Here's our breach right here. This is the close candle. Next candle down, our slope direction went red. But the 5 minute, this is all I use it for. The 5 minute told me no because we're parking on that MA. We can wait for another entry. Pretty simple as one of your rules. So here was the setup. What did we do? We look left. Nothing really there. There is a little here, which would be a minor support. But our 5 minute tells us stay out because the MA, it's bouncing on the MA. So we just stay out. If this switches opposite, and this goes green, and this is above, we might have it. I'm going to get into indicators. There's a possible new setup coming. We're having a close above. This is above the 5. We want this to go green. Again, this is when you can start to overthink it with, wait for the green, wait for the green. What do we do now? Zoom out a little bit. What's going on? So we still got upward. Good. Zoom in. We're looking left. As we look left, what do we see? Here's price. What do we see right here? Let me get rid of this. I don't want anyone confused. If we look left, you should see it. Let's draw that right there. We got to resist. So let's zoom in. You notice I'm not using any fancy Murray math lines, nothing like that. I am just going with what I can see on the screen. So we look left and we got to resist out of it right there. So we did get a close above. We're not on the MA. Again, here's what it is with indicators. I don't really use this one, but I wanted to show it how this is conflicting with this. So if you have too many indicators on the screen, you're going to start getting conflicting information. Keep it simple. Now let's go for take profit on this. So What do we have? If this was going to be our entry, once it breaks here, if we look down, it's 38 pips. This is still a big move. What else could I do to help determine that? I could take price here and go up to here. It's about 28 pips. So you use the zigzag to help you determine the current market swings. Someone was asking about tops and bottoms over on Facebook. Zigzags can show you nicely after the fact where here was a top, here was a bottom. But instead of using it for that, use them for trend to determine take profit, stop loss. You can use it to help determine trend too, because here's a higher high, here's a lower high, higher high, lower high. You know you're in a trend by this point. So how many of these would it take for you to be able to say, I want to get in? Well, here's one, the beginning of it. So we got a higher high, lower high. We don't know it yet because that's our first move. Now we got a higher high, lower high. That could have been a move up there. I jumped the gun on it because of a few other things here. I just wanted to get into a crap trade. I was trying to show that it's dangerous to get in on this MA, but it didn't work out. The trade panned through. Okay, so now we've got green and we've got above the MA, but has it broken through our look left? Has it broken through our resist? It hasn't. If it breaks through our resist, what do we got here? We got a potential run up of about 23 pips. Do we want to stay on this chart or we want to look at some more? It might take a while. It might drop. We don't know what it's going to do. Now down below with my MAs, they were red. I got a yellow line, which means it's going to start going green. I use these as a general rule of thumb. They are not there for entry. It's just for me to see what a little bit of the overall trend is. They are not involved in my entry rules. They're there just for the hell of it. This one was there just to show you. I wanted to show some conflicting signals. So far, price is going down. We got red, and it's been all green the whole time. So I'm trying to show that the indicators aren't always your best friend. Let's jump again over here. This is Euro USD. First thing I look at when I get to it is my mini chart. What do we look at? We're way above the MA, so we're clear there. Let's zoom in on this one. We'll turn off the auto scroll so we can take a look. This was our news, so we're not going to look at it because it's bullshit. I will say, remember, no, that's not what I want. This is what I want. This kind of look we don't want. It's ucky, yucko, blah. What we're looking for again is price to be at both our lines. So this one a little trickier, and we would have gotten a smaller move out of it. So here's green, pink. We don't know it's an upwards trend yet. So possibly here you could stay out. We get a higher, a lower, and then if we got this, it would have been scary because this is not a higher high. Not particularly a great setup, but if you want to go just by rules, it's breached higher, and it's above here. If you want to be safer, you could wait till price gets completely above both of them, and you could wait for this to cross above. I'm a little more aggressive with this, but if you wanted to be conservative, this could be your entry. I'm sorry, that's one early. Conservative trading, this could be your entry. So let's get our take profit and our stop loss set up. That's 12.55. I'm just going to draw lines this time so you can see. Let's go 12.55 up, and let's add 2 onto it just to make sure we cover spread. That's about 15 there. So that's definitely a good one. Okay. And our entry. Now this was the conservative way. Does the bottom indie repaint? It's an MA crossover, so once the candle's closed, no. It can change from yellow to green or red. It's 2 MAs crossing over. So if this was it right here and it bottomed out, yeah, once it's closed, no. Again, the bottom for me is just to get an idea of overall trend. Since I'm on the 1 minute, this gives me a bigger picture since this is slower moving averages. Here, let me get into it since we can see indicators now. It's an MTF. It's a multi-time frame MA cross. So if you want to bump it up to 5 minutes, we could. Right there. Periods are 13 and 25, what I'm using. And I'm using smoothed and smoothed, not simple, smoothed. So let's say if I changed it to 5 minute. Here's what it looks like on the 5 minute chart. So how would our entry look there? It would have said it's red, but we're not. This is just for general guidance, guys. It's not for entry and exit. So if we go back to it and put it on a 1 minute and close. See, now the 1 minute it says yeah, the 5 minute it said no. That's what I mean. You have to. A lot of this is just learning to get the basic setup down. The basic setup down is price above these two. Yes, then start looking for an entry. Now, again, what I see people do is they screw up because they want to take a 5 pip take profit and a 5 pip take profit stop loss on it, which here would have worked out. It's like 3.9 pips down. But the biggest thing I see people struggle with is how to figure out their entry and exits, or take profit and stop loss, using it simply like this. Measuring down, measuring up. It's a 1-to-1, and you should be able to develop past that. But for now, we just need people to realize that market conditions change all the time. And by using a zigzag, you'll see market conditions change all the time, and you'll learn to react to it. So now here, do we have any further entries that we could be looking at? For me, not really. It's kind of dying out. And you can see it on the 5 minute here. It's kind of flat. Do we see anything on the 5 minute that should stop us from getting in a trade, by the way? Over here on the mini chart. I know it might be a little bit blurry, but we're seeing a support here. Something's stopping everything from coming above. So what do we want to do then? We don't see it here, so let's look at it on the 5 minute. What the hell's going on? Let's zoom in. Your mini charts are just there to give you hints of what to stop and look for. So there is nothing to the left. Basically, it's just a short-term consolidation. So what are we looking for is price to breach above here, and you could possibly get in another trade. Remember, this is on the 5 minute, and it does scale up on the 5 minute. This was our 1 minute entry. This could be a 5 minute entry right there. Now, if we did that as a 5 minute entry, what do we do? First, look to the left, and this was a support. So, okay, let's look through some more. First thing we want to do, look at here, 5 minute. Price is below it on our mini. Second, what are we looking at? Let's identify some crap zones first. Crap zone. Although we do get a setup here. So how do we know to stay in or out of it? For me personally, since I came out of a long crap zone and I don't want to get caught in a trade that does this. And it's all about being patient, guys. This is a 1 minute chart. You're running 4 of them. You're going to have plenty of shit to look at, trust me. So here's it came out of the crap zone here. We did get a setup. It might have, with using our take profit stop loss, this one might have hit. But what am I looking for really is I'm looking for price to come up here. And let me turn it off. And I'll zoom in so you can see a little better. Sorry, I forget. So we might have been able to get in on this one. Take up here and got a take profit out that. It would have been a real short one, but it's coming out of a crap zone. So what I want to wait for is price to go up. So what are we getting? And then down. If we look, this was a new lower low and a new higher low. So now from here, everything's lining up. Price is below both our lines, and we could get in. So what could we do here? And let's see how it would have worked out. 19 would not have worked out. 15. And let me see again. And again, every trade isn't going to work out for you. You can manually watch a trade also and close in and out of it, but not every trade is going to work out for you. Let's going along some more. Price came up to here. We start seeing it go through both of them, so when it comes back down, we'd want to stay out. This is about here when price is touching the MAs. So again, our 5 minutes is going to tell you to stay out, and it tells you to stay out. So we get a double get the hell out. This one here is the move through. Back down. So let's bring up to almost where we are now on it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 back. This is the one that came out, but it's hitting the MA. I hope I'm not losing y'all, but here's the one that came out, hit the MA, hit the MA. It closed below it. So at this point, since it closed below it, you could probably get into it, but honestly, again, and I'm just being honest here, I probably would have passed on this whole damn thing. Reason being is we didn't get the actual setup until this candle. Right here. And that was the close of this little one. And this is our actual setup when it went red. And to be honest, let's not joke around with the indicator. This would have been our one when we finally saw this turn pink. Now, would the trade have worked out? It's 34.8 and we get 41. Yes, it would have, but I would have stayed out of it. Reason being is because I had it hitting the 5 minute, so this would have said no to me on my rules. Let's look at another. Where's the one that was all crap? So, see how quickly with the 1 minute charts we had a shit chart, and they're slowly developing into tradable. I'm trying to think what else. Okay, so here's one. We might have it coming up, but let's look at the 5. This should filter it out for us right away. Price is hovering around the MA, so we want to stay out of away and out of this one. Now, once price comes above, we get a good close above it. Yeah, you can look for an entry, but your 5 minute right here should rule it out for you. I'm trying to think what else. Okay, so we had questions about indicators. This one here is that one from, what's it called? Trend following from binary options at Edge. See how we get it green, red, red, green? Up above here we're getting green, but M5, M15, M30 are telling us conflicting. Now if we go over here, this one is, what's it called? Synergy Pro MTF. So we're getting 2 downs here, 3 ups. See how things kind of conflict? We have 2 ups here and 2 reds. I honestly think if you're going to try a system like this, and now let me show you this is my screen as I trade it. Gone. Gone. This is all I use to trade it. My filter is my mini chart for the most part. It's my mini chart or if price is braiding. Once price is cleared down below, yay, I'm in. Keep it simple. Again, guys, the reason I have people on the 1 minute chart when they're learning to trade is first use zigzag to set your take profit and stop loss. Number 2 is, like I mentioned with the thing when you're driving a car, if you're trading off a 1 hour chart, a 4 hour chart, hell, even a 30-minute chart, the amount of time you get to drive, which is actually placing a trade, setting your stop loss, setting your take profit, getting everything set up, and doing the actual trading, just setting everything up and taking the trade, watching it, is very limited. That's like me giving you a car and saying, here, learn to drive it. If you're on the 4 hour chart, it'd probably take you a year to learn how to drive it. Learn it on the 1 minute chart, whichever strategy you want to use. If you want to use mine, that's great. It works for me. I did mention I use a partial close to help my risk-reward ratio. If you're interested in that, post it on Facebook, and I'll do a partial close on how I really trade this whole thing. But if you're looking to trade, I highly wouldn't recommend getting in tops and bottoms. Tops and bottoms are set by the market makers. They're going to bounce price up and down for the day, and a lot of times, and I know this sounds whatever, they're going to conspiracy theory, they know what those ranges are for the day. They know when they're going to drop price and move price. Remember, moving cash around, let's say the iPhone 7 comes out in Australia, so the AUD USD, and this doesn't even have to be news related, so price gets up to here. They just sold 2 billion iPhones, and the US is like, well, I need price lower than you send me the money, because they want a better conversion rate. So what's the banks do? They push price down to here. All the sales on the iPhones get transferred over to the American bank accounts, and they knew that. It was planned out ahead of time. Now, what would happen to you if you were saying, well, this is a top, but I don't know, it might go higher? You'd know nothing about what's going on here. All you have to do is be ready for the setup that, hey, there's something's going down. Let me follow it. Use zigzag to set up a decent take profit and stop loss. So that's all you're going to get out of it right there. Now if you use a trailing with a partial close, you're going to get a little bit more. But the zigzag will help you with the current market conditions. Because typically, yes, these market makers are going to push the market, but they're not going to go to any crazy extremes. So the zigzag will help keep you inside that extreme to get a little bit of profit, but it won't let you overshoot it. Because I say some people, for instance, they get into a trade. So this is their stop loss, but they want 5-to-1 risk-reward ratio. So they set their take profit down here. The trade goes down. They could have had $50 right here. It comes up and never comes back down. They get stopped out here when they had all this profit right here waiting on them by not being overly aggressive. Zigzag will help you do that. I highly recommend using it, or at least dicking around with it and see if it's something you like. The last thing I can say is, I know it sounds boring, but let me put it this way. You do a month on this, on the 1 minute charts, 2 hours a day. I guarantee in a month you could probably flip over to a demo account and start cranking out some profits. As long as you stick to the rules. We don't trade this shit. We don't trade news. And if you go really by the rules, wait until you have these nice clean breaches. Price is below both lines. You could use your own moving averages if you prefer the 5 minute, because the 1 minute is kind of fast, and trade the 5 minute. You're not going to get as much setups. If you're going to demo, I say fuck it. You do the 1 minute, get your repetition in. You trade 2 hours a day for 1 month, I guarantee you're going to have 100 to 150 trades under your belt, and you will have a little more confidence to go live and actually make a little money. Other than that, guys, do we have questions? The reason I did this one is because I see a lot of people just so heavily relying on indicators. Remember, for this system, guys, here's my main thing. This is my filter. If price is hugging this moving average, stay away. The second thing, if price looks like this, stay away. We want it like this with this gap in here. You'll get these setups on the 1 minute chart between 4 or 5 charts. You can get this all the time. Something I didn't mention, spread. We want to keep it down below 1. If it gets up to 2, that gets a little difficult on a 1 minute chart. It'll discourage you. Lastly, this down here, if you decide to use it, it's just for guidance. It is not one of my rules. I'll load up everything in an indicator pack, yeah. Man, people are bitching about ECB. Sorry, let me stop the recording since there's